Jack sat quietly in his small cabin on the edge of the planet. The wind howled outside, and the sky was dark. It had been weeks since he had seen another human, and the only sounds he heard were the distant calls of creatures from the wild. He had gotten used to the silence. There was a comfort in it. He liked being alone, far from the noise of other people. He had been working on his ship when he heard a strange noise outside. It sounded like a soft rustling, almost like something was moving in the bushes. Jack stood up, his heart racing. The wind was strong tonight, so it could have just been the trees swaying. But this noise, it was different. It was too quiet, too careful. Jack grabbed his flashlight and moved towards the door. The noise was getting closer. He slowly opened the door, the creak of the hinges making his skin crawl. He stepped outside, shining the light into the darkness, but saw nothing. Just the empty landscape, the swirling wind, and the occasional flash of lightning in the distance. Then, out of nowhere, something appeared in the beam of his flashlight. It was standing in front of him, just a few feet away. Jack froze. His breath caught in his throat. It wasn't a human. It wasn't any creature he had seen before. The being in front of him was tall, its body sleek and covered in shimmering silver fur. Its eyes glowed a faint, eerie blue, and it stood on two legs like a human. But its face Jack had never seen anything like it. A long, sharp snout, and ears that were pointed and slightly back. The creature looked almost like a canine, but with features that were unmistakably alien. It was looking at him with calm, intelligent eyes. Jack's hand instinctively reached for the gun at his side. He wasn't sure what kind of creature this was, but he wasn't about to take any chances. The alien creature didn't seem scared or aggressive. Instead, it took a step forward and spoke. "I've come to tell you something important." "Human," the creature said, its voice smooth but deep. "You should prepare, human. We're having puppies." Jack's mind raced. Puppies? What was this alien talking about? Is this some kind of joke? But the look in its eyes told him it was serious. It wasn't smiling. It wasn't playing around. The alien was standing there, waiting for a response. Jack stood frozen, staring at the creature in disbelief. His heart was still pounding, but his confusion was starting to outweigh his fear. He glanced down at the creature's body, trying to understand what it meant by puppies. Was it pregnant, or was it referring to something else entirely? Could a creature like this even give birth? He opened his mouth to speak, but couldn't find the words. His mind was trying to make sense of everything, but nothing made sense. The creature seemed to notice Jack's confusion and continued. "I know this may sound strange, but it is true. I am not here to harm you," the alien said, its voice calming. "Slightly, but you must be ready. The time is near." Jack shook his head, still unsure of what to make of it all. His instincts told him to run, to grab his gun and defend himself. But there was something about this creature, something in the way it spoke, that made him hesitate. It wasn't acting hostile. It wasn't even acting like it was afraid. Jack finally found his voice. "What do you mean, puppies? Are you telling me you're pregnant?" The alien nodded slowly. "Yes, I am, Ate, and I need your help." Jack's confusion only grew. "Help? How am I supposed to help you with puppies?" The alien took a step closer, its glowing eyes meeting Jack's. "You will understand soon enough. But first, you must prepare yourself. The puppies will be born soon, and I need a safe place for them to come into the world." Jack stood there for a moment, his mind racing. A safe place? What was he supposed to do? He was just a human on a lonely planet, living by himself. He wasn't prepared for something like this. He barely even understood what was happening, let alone how to help an alien canine give birth. But the creature's eyes were pleading, and for reasons he couldn't explain, Jack felt a strange sense of duty. He didn't know what he was getting into, But he knew one thing for sure. His life had just taken a very unexpected turn. I'll help you, Jack said, his voice low. But I still don't understand. Why me? Why here? The alien seemed to smile slightly, though the expression was strange on its face. You were chosen. You have the strength, the heart to help, and you will need it. The journey ahead will not be easy, human. With that, the alien stepped back, its eyes never leaving Jack's. Are you ready? Jack looked at the creature in front of him, unsure of what to say. He wasn't sure what was happening, but he knew that from this moment on, his life was going to be anything but normal. Whatever this was, it was just the beginning. As the alien turned to walk toward the cabin, Jack followed slowly, trying to process everything that had just happened. The strange creature, the talk of puppies, the unexpected arrival, it was all too much, but Jack had always been the kind of person who faced challenges head-on. He wasn't sure if he was ready, but he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't back out now. The alien had come to him. And now, for better or worse, Jack was involved in something far bigger than himself. The strange alien canine led Jack inside the cabin. Its long, sleek body moved gracefully despite its size. The creature seemed at ease now, almost as though it had made itself comfortable in its new surroundings. Jack, still in a daze from the events of the night, watched it closely, every move. It made leaving him more confused. As they reached the center of the cabin, the creature stopped and turned to face him. Its glowing blue eyes locked onto Jack's, and for a moment, Jack thought he could see a flicker of something hope, perhaps. The alien spoke again, its voice still calm, but this time carrying a certain weight. My name is Zara, it said. Its tone steady, but tinged with something Jack couldn't quite place. I come from a planet far from here. We are a species unlike any you have encountered before. I am what you would call an alien canine, though our nature is far more complex than what your world might understand. Jack swallowed hard, trying to make sense of the creature in front of him. He had so many questions, but none of them seemed to matter right now. What was this creature really? How could something like this exist in the universe? And what was this about puppies? Zara seemed to sense his confusion and continued, pacing slowly around the cabin. We are not like your dogs. We're descendants of an ancient race that once ruled the stars. Our species is connected to the very fabric of the universe. We were sent to this planet not by accident, but with a purpose. Jack stared at Zara, trying to keep up. He wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but the alien's presence was so commanding that words didn't seem to come easily. Zara paused by the window, looking out at the moonlit landscape. We have been sent here for a reason. The puppies I carry are not just the next generation. They are part of something bigger. The birth of these puppies will bring about changes that your world is not yet ready for. Jack's mind raced. But why me? Why here? He finally asked, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. Zara looked over at him, a faint, almost sad smile playing on its face. You may not understand yet, human, but your planet is in danger. We are here because our kind is bound to protect. These puppies will grow to be more than just animals. They will be the key to saving your world or, perhaps, destroying it. But their fate lies in your hands now. Jack's heart skipped a beat. Protect, save the world. He had been expecting some kind of alien encounter, but this was something beyond anything he had ever imagined. How could he, just a simple man, have anything to do with the fate of an entire planet? Zara stepped closer, its voice softening as it spoke again. We were not always like this. My ancestors were peaceful beings who only sought knowledge and understanding. But that changed over time. The balance of our world shifted, and we became warriors, protectors of those who could not defend themselves. Now, we are scattered, with few of us left. But we are still here, and we are still needed. Jack stared at the alien, trying to wrap his mind around the enormity of what he was hearing. So, these puppies will be the key to saving the world. He asked cautiously, "What does that mean?" Zara paused, considering the question. "The puppies I carry are not ordinary. They are the offspring of a powerful lineage, a lineage that connects us to the ancient powers of the universe. But they must be raised with care, and they must be protected. They are vulnerable, but in the right hands, they can change the course." Of history, Jack felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't just some alien encounter. This was something bigger, much bigger. The weight of Zara's words was heavy, and for the first time, Jack began to feel the full impact of what he had gotten involved in. He wasn't just helping an alien canine, he was helping protect the future of his entire world. Zara took a deep breath, its body trembling slightly. "I do not know if you will be able to handle what is to come, but I believe you can. Bond we share is not one of choice, is destiny. You have been chosen to help, whether you want to or not. You will be my ally, and I will be yours." Jack stood in stunned silence. The weight of Zara's words was sinking in. His life had just been turned upside down, and there was no going back now. He wasn't just the caretaker of an alien canine. Was now part of a greater plan, one that spanned beyond anything he had ever imagined. And as he looked at Zara, he knew one thing for sure. This journey was going to be nothing like he had ever expected. With a steady, almost reassuring gaze, Zara spoke once more. "Prepare yourself, human. The puppies are coming, and with them, everything will change." Jack didn't know what to say. He had already made up his mind. He would help this alien, no matter how strange or dangerous it seemed. He had no choice now. The fate of his world was in his hands. He was ready to face whatever came next. The days that followed felt like a strange dream for Jack. The alien, Zara, had quickly become a regular part of his life. Jack had always been a solitary man, content with his quiet existence. But now, every moment seemed to be filled with an odd sense of urgency. As if the fate of the universe hung in the balance. Zara's presence, though strange, was comforting. The creature seemed to trust him, which was something Jack hadn't expected. The first few days were filled with tense silence. Zara would roam the cabin, sitting by the fire or pacing restlessly by the windows, its glowing eyes watching the stars. Jack would busy himself with his work, trying to keep his mind occupied. But there was always a feeling that something important was about to happen. Something he couldn't yet understand. It wasn't until the fourth day that Jack noticed something different about Zara. The creature wasn't just here for shelter or safety. It was forming a connection, a bond that was hard to ignore. Zara had begun to speak to him more often, explaining bits and pieces of its past. It told Jack stories of its planet, of its people, and how they had once been rulers of the stars, traveling across galaxies with their powers. As Zara shared these stories, Jack listened intently. He couldn't help but feel a deep sense of. Despite everything, the alien seemed to possess a wisdom that Jack couldn't quite fathom. It wasn't just a creature from another planet, it was a living being with emotions, thoughts, and a history. One evening, as the two of them sat by the fire, Zara looked over at Jack with a thoughtful expression. The creature's voice was softer than usual when it spoke. "You are more than what you seem. Human," it said. "I can feel your heart. It is strong." Jack raised an eyebrow. He had never thought of himself as anything special. It's just a man trying to survive in a lonely world. But the way Zara spoke made him question everything. "What do you mean?" Jack asked, his voice a little rough. He wasn't used to talking about feelings, especially not with someone or something that wasn't human. Zara tilted its head slightly, as if considering how to explain. Your heart is open, unlike many others. You have a deep sense of purpose. It is rare for beings like you to possess such qualities. Jack couldn't help but feel a slight blush rise to his cheeks. He had always kept his emotions buried. But Zara's words stirred something in him. Maybe it was the loneliness of living on a distant planet. Or maybe it was just the strange bond he was beginning to form with this alien. But whatever it was, Jack found himself trusting Zara more than he ever thought possible. Over the next few days, their connection deepened. Zara would often come to Jack when it was time to rest, sitting by the fire or curling up in a corner of the cabin. Jack, in turn, would talk to Zara about his life, his past, and the things that weighed on his mind. It wasn't easy to open up, but something about Zara's calm presence made him feel safe. It wasn't just the fact that it was an alien creature, was the understanding in its eyes. The quiet empathy that made Jack feel heard. One evening, as Jack sat on the floor, working on repairs to his ship, Zara approached him with an unusual question. "Tell me, human," Zara said softly, "do you ever wonder about your place in the universe?" Jack paused for a moment, surprised by the question. He had never really given it much thought. Life had always been about surviving, not about understanding his place in the grand scheme of things. But as Zara's glowing eyes met his, he realized that maybe he had been too focused on just getting by. Maybe there was more to life than just the next day, the next job, the next meal. "I don't know," Jack admitted, his voice quiet. "I've never really thought about it. I just want to make it through each day." Zara nodded slowly, as though understanding Jack's words more than he did himself. "It is good to survive, human. But there is also more. Here for a reason, just as I am." Jack looked at the alien, feeling a strange connection between them. It was as if their fates were now intertwined, as if Zara's mission and his own purpose had become one. And in that moment, Jack realized that this strange creature, this alien being, was not just a visitor. It was a companion, someone who understood him in a way no one else ever had. Over time, Jack found himself feeling more protective of Zara. The creature's pregnancy, though still a mystery to him, had become something he cared for deeply. He was now part of its world, and it was a world he was starting to understand. The connection between them was undeniable. Jack began to notice little things, the way Zara seemed to sense his moods, the way it always appeared when he was feeling down or unsure. Zara wasn't just an alien to be studied. It was a friend, a protector, and a partner in this strange, unexpected journey. But as the days wore on, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. Something bigger than either of them could imagine. Zara's cryptic words echoed in his mind, "You are here for a reason." The weight of those words pressed on him, but he didn't know what to do with them. All he knew was that the puppies, the birth, and everything surrounding it were only the beginning. And as Jack looked over at Zara, sitting quietly by the fire, he realized that his life would never be the same again. They were on this journey together now, and whatever came next, they would face it side by side. The morning had come slowly. The first rays of sunlight breaking through the small cabin's windows, casting a warm, golden glow across the room. Jack woke up to the familiar sound of wind howling outside and the soft hum of the machines in the corner of the room. The quiet of his life had always been comforting, but now felt a little too still, like the calm before a storm. Zara was already awake. It wasn't unusual. The alien canine had become more attuned to the planet's cycles, adjusting to the planet's rhythms better than Jack could have ever imagined. The creature sat by the fire, its eyes glowing faintly as it looked out the window. Jack rubbed his eyes, groggily moving toward the kitchen. Still not entirely used to the presence of an alien in his life, he made his morning coffee, the warm liquid calming his nerves, But his thoughts kept returning to what Zara had said. You are here for a reason. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Zara had never been clear about why the puppies were so important, only that they had a purpose far beyond anything Jack could comprehend. The alien creature had become a constant in his life, but its secrets weighed on Jack like a shadow he couldn't shake off. That's when it happened. A loud crashing sound came from outside, followed by the unmistakable thrum of a ship's engines. Jack froze. He grabbed his rifle instinctively, rushing to the door to see what was going on. He was met by the sight of a dark ship, unlike anything he had ever seen. It was sleek and black, shaped like a predator ready to pounce. The ship hovered just above the ground, casting a long shadow over the barren landscape. Before Jack could react, the door to his cabin slammed open with a sudden force. Zara's voice echoed through the air. They found us, it said, its tone sharp with urgency. They know we're here. Jack's heart skipped a beat. Who? T managed to ask, his voice tight with fear. Zara's glowing eyes narrowed, a flicker of something Jack hadn't seen before, something primal. The hunters. The ship outside seemed to pulse, as though it was alive, and Jack could see dark figures emerging from it. They were alien, humanoid, but unnaturally tall, their skin covered in a tough, scaled armor that glinted in the dim light. Their eyes were cold, calculating. They were hunters, and Jack had no doubt that they were after Zara and the puppies it carried. Stay back, Zara growled, its body tensing. They will stop at nothing to take the puppies. I won't let them. Jack barely had time to process the words before the cabin door burst open, revealing the hunters. They stepped into the cabin, their movements unnervingly fast. Their weapons gleamed, ready to strike. Jack's heart raced as they locked their gaze onto Zara. Step aside. Alien, one of them hissed in a language Jack couldn't understand. We're here to claim what is ours. Jack moved without thinking, stepping in front of Zara. He had never been in a fight like this before, never had to defend something so important. But in that moment, his instincts kicked in. He wouldn't let them take Zara. He wouldn't let them take the puppies. He had no idea what was at stake, but he knew this was his fight now. You'll have to get through me first, Jack said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. He aimed his rifle at the first hunter, his hand trembling slightly. The hunters paused, their eyes scanning Jack with cold detachment. Then one of them stepped forward, its hand reaching for a strange device attached to its belt. Before Jack could react, the hunter pressed a button, and the air around them seemed to warp, distorting as if the very atmosphere had been twisted. Suddenly, Jack felt a sharp pain in his chest. He looked down in confusion, seeing a glowing red mark where the energy weapon had struck him. The force of the hit sent him stumbling back, but he managed to stay on his feet, gritting his teeth. Against the pain, Zara leaped forward with a snarl, its eyes glowing brighter. No, it shouted. It was faster than Jack had ever seen it move. The alien canine knocked the hunter off balance, sending it crashing into the wall with a loud thud. But there were more of them. The remaining hunters raised their weapons, closing in on Jack and Zara. We cannot waste time with you, one of them sneered. The puppies are our priority. Jack struggled to get back on his feet, but the pain was overwhelming. His breath came in shallow gasps, his vision blurring. He looked over at Zara, who was standing protectively in front of him, its glowing eyes full of fury and fear. They won't stop, Zara said, its voice low and strained. They want the puppies for their own purposes. We need to get out of here now. The sound of the hunter's footsteps grew closer, and Jack's head spun. He was losing the fight, and he knew it. But there was no time for doubt. He needed to protect Zara and the unborn puppies at all costs. With his remaining strength, he stumbled to his feet, grabbing Zara's arm. "Let's go," he said, his voice rough. Zara nodded, and together, they sprinted towards the back of the cabin, trying to find a way out before the hunters could catch up. Jack knew one thing for sure now. This was no longer just about survival. It was about protecting something far more important than himself. The night was cold, but Jack barely noticed as he paced back and forth in the dimly lit cabin. The hunters had come and gone, but the damage they'd left behind was still fresh in his mind. The creatures were relentless, their cold, calculating eyes never leaving Zara, and Jack had barely escaped with his life. But Zara she had protected him. Jack looked at her now, curled up near the fireplace, her glowing blue eyes faintly shimmering in the low light. She was still recovering from the attack. The hunters were gone, but their words echoed in Jack's mind. "The puppies are our priority." He didn't know what that meant, but he knew one thing: he wasn't about to let them take Zara or her unborn children. The alien canine seemed to sense Jack's thoughts. She lifted her head, her voice soft but firm. "The time is near, human. The puppies will come soon." Jack had never been good with anything remotely related to pregnancy or birth. He had no idea how he was supposed to help an alien creature give birth. He had never even seen a dog give birth, let alone something as strange and powerful as Zara's offspring. But there was no time for hesitation. Zara had trusted him, and now it was his turn to prove that he could handle this responsibility. Jack knelt down beside her, feeling a wave of nervous energy wash over him. "What do I need to do?" he asked quietly, unsure if he could be of any real help. Zara's eyes softened. "You must prepare the space for the birth," she said, her voice surprisingly gentle. "Make sure it is quiet, calm. I will need you by my side when the time comes. The process is ... delicate. There will be pain, but the puppies are strong." Jack nodded, trying to push aside the fear gnawing at him. He wasn't used to being in charge of anything like this. But the thought of these creatures, the puppies being born here, in this cabin, in this desolate place, made something stir in him. A strange sense of purpose he hadn't felt before. He spent the next few hours setting up a small area near the fireplace. He lined the ground with soft blankets and pillows, trying to make it as comfortable as possible for Zara. He wasn't sure how much time they had left before the puppies arrived, but he had to act quickly. The hunters were still out there, and the danger wasn't over. As Jack worked, he couldn't help but watch Zara. She hadn't moved much, but there was a tension in her posture now. Her breathing had become slower, deeper. Jack could sense that she was preparing herself. It was as if she knew what was coming, and yet there was still a quiet fear in her eyes. The fear of losing what was inside her, the puppies. The future. When Jack finished setting up the space, he stood back, wiping his brow. His heart was racing, and he was beginning to realize just how heavy this responsibility was. It wasn't just about protecting Zara. It wasn't just about keeping her safe from the hunters. It was about something bigger, something that could change everything. These puppies were no ordinary offspring. They were part of something ancient. Something Jack didn't yet understand. Zara slowly rose to her feet, her body trembling slightly. "It's time," she said. Her voice was steady, but Jack could hear the strain in it. Jack rushed to her side, his nerves fraying. "Are you sure?" It is time," she repeated, her voice firm, though the pain was starting to show in the way her body shifted. "Do not fear. I need you to be here, Jack. I need you to trust me." Jack swallowed hard, nodding. "I trust you," he said, though the words felt heavy in his mouth. As Zara lay down on the blankets Jack had prepared, he positioned himself beside her, offering his hand. She took it gently, Her eyes locked onto his with a deep, almost otherworldly connection. The room grew silent, except for the faint crackle of the fire. Jack could feel the tension building, as if the entire planet was holding its breath, waiting for what would come next. Zara's body tensed, her muscles twitching in a way that Jack could only describe as instinctual. She was in pain, but it wasn't the kind of pain Jack had ever seen. It was deeper, more primal. Zara's voice broke the silence again. "The first one is coming." Jack's heart raced. He gripped her hand harder, unsure of what to expect. He had never seen anything like this in his life. But one thing was clear. He was in this with her. No matter how strange, no matter how terrifying, he would not abandon her. He wouldn't let these puppies or Zara be taken from him, as Zara's breathing grew heavier. Jack did his best to keep calm. His mind was racing, but he stayed focused on her, watching for any sign of what he needed to do. The firelight flickered, casting long shadows across the cabin. And Jack could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. Then, with a soft cry, Zara's body shifted once more. Jack's eyes widened as he saw the first of the puppies, small, glowing, and shimmering with a faint blue light. It wasn't like anything Jack had ever seen before. 'Twas beautiful, powerful, and fragile all at once. Zara looked at the tiny creature with love and exhaustion. "One," she whispered, her voice full of awe and relief. Jack's breath caught in his throat. He had witnessed the birth of something extraordinary, something that would change his life forever. This was no ordinary birth. These were no ordinary puppies. They were part of a legacy that stretched beyond the stars. But as the first puppy lay in front of them, Jack knew that this was only the beginning. The danger was far from over. The hunters would be back. And now, with the birth of these puppies, their world, his world, was forever changed. The air in the cabin was thick with tension, heavy with the quiet anticipation of what was unfolding. Jack had never been more unsure of himself in his life. He had no idea what the future held, but as the first tiny, glowing puppy lay in front of him, it felt as though time itself had slowed down. The room was still, except for the sound of Zara's labored breathing and the quiet, rhythmic crackle of the fire. Zara's eyes were locked onto the tiny creature, her body trembling as she carefully nudged the pup towards Jack. Its form shimmered in the low light of the cabin, its soft skin almost translucent, pulsing with a faint blue glow. Jack reached out slowly, his hand shaking as he gently touched the small creature. It was warm, soft, and unbelievably delicate-like. Nothing he had ever felt before. But before he could say anything, Zara let out a low, painful growl, her body stiffening. She closed her eyes in concentration as a wave of discomfort passed over her. "The next one is coming," she said, her voice strained but filled with an undeniable determination. Jack's heart raced. He hadn't expected this to be so intense, so real. He had hoped for the best, but now, seeing how vulnerable Zara was, he realized the weight of the responsibility he had taken on. His hands hovered over the tiny pup, unsure of what to do next, but Zara was already guiding him through. "Stay close. Don't leave me," she whispered, her glowing eyes fixing on him. "I won't." Jack promised, his voice thick with emotion. The second puppy arrived quickly, its form shimmering as it slid into the world. This one was larger, its body rippling with power as it let out a soft, gurgling sound. It was unlike anything Jack had seen before. The first pup was small, almost fragile, but this one was more muscular, more alive. It seemed stronger already, its fur darkening with a rich, silvery hue. Zara's breath caught in her throat as she watched the second pup. It was clear that she was exhausted, but the look in her eyes was one of pride. She had just given life to something extraordinary, something that would help change the universe in ways Jack could never have imagined. "The next one will be the last," Zara said quietly. Her voice weak, but filled with certainty. Jack nodded, watching the two pups closely as they instinctively moved towards their mother, seeking warmth and comfort. He could feel the bond growing between them, all the feeling of protection and connection that was deeper than anything he had experienced. These puppies weren't just creatures to be protected. They were part of something much greater. They were the key to Zara's past and to the future of the universe itself, as the room filled with the soft sound of the puppies' tiny breaths. Jack began to realize that he had become part of something far beyond his understanding. These creatures, these pups, were destined for something monumental. And now, he was the one who had to protect them no matter what it took. Zara let out a soft whimper as the final puppy began to emerge. This one was different. Again, its energy seemed almost ethereal, like a pulse of light that resonated in the air. Jack watched in awe as it came into the world, its tiny form radiating warmth and light. It was glowing brighter than the others, its presence unmistakable. This pup, Jack thought, was something special. Zara looked down at the final pup, her voice filled with awe. This one will change everything." Jack glanced at the glowing creature, his mind racing. Change everything. What did that mean? Was this pup the one that held the answers to all the mysteries? Was it the one that held the key to saving nor destroying the world? The room grew heavy with the weight of Zara's words, and Jack felt a sense of dread building. Inside him, he wasn't ready for this. He wasn't prepared to handle what came next. But Zara's words echoed in his mind. "You have been chosen to help." The puppies settled into their new world, nestled close to their mother. Jack stood there, stunned and exhausted, watching the small family. His heart was pounding in his chest, his mind unable to fully comprehend the importance of what had just happened. Zara had given birth to the future, but the hunters weren't gone. The danger was still out there, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Jack knew that this wasn't just about protecting Zara and the puppies anymore. It was about survival, and it was about making sure that the legacy of these creatures wasn't stolen before it could even begin. As Zara curled protectively around her pups, and Jack stood by her side, more determined than ever. He had promised to protect them. He had promised not to let anything happen to these newborn lives. And now, that promise was the only thing that mattered. The puppies would grow strong. They would change the world. And Jack would be there every step of the way, guarding them from the dangers that were already closing in. The days following the birth of the puppies passed in a blur of quiet tension and wonder. Jack hardly had time to rest, caught in the whirlwind of protecting Zara and her newborn pups. The alien canine had become more than just a creature from another planet. She had become family. And now, with the puppies safely nestled by her side, Jack couldn't help but feel a fierce sense of protectiveness. Zara, though exhausted, had an air of quiet strength. Her maternal instincts kicked in immediately, and she watched over the pups with an unspoken determination. The three small creatures, each unique in their own way, clung to her side as they slowly began to grow stronger. The first puppy, smaller and delicate, had a soft, glowing aura about it. The second one, more muscular and dark, exuded a quiet power that Jack couldn't quite explain. But it was the third pup, the one that had come last, that held Jack's attention. It was the brightest, the most alive, and the one Zara had said would change everything each day. As Jack went about the cabin, he found himself drawn back to the puppies. They were his responsibility now, his new family. It was strange, this feeling he had for them. A human and an alien canine together, they had created something extraordinary. The pups weren't just alien beings. They were symbols of hope, of change, of a future that Jack hadn't yet understood. But that didn't mean the danger had passed. If anything, it had only grown. Late one afternoon, Jack heard a sound that made his blood run cold. A familiar hum filled the air, the sound of a ship descending. He had hoped that the hunters would have given up, that they'd be content with their failed attempt to capture Zara and her pups, but that was wishful thinking. They would never stop until they got what they wanted, Zara. Sensing the shift in the atmosphere, raised her head, her eyes glowing faintly. She had known the hunters would return. Jack could see the weariness in her eyes, the weight of her responsibility. Not only to her pups, but to her species. She had known the cost of what they were doing, the cost of bringing new life into this dangerous world. "We have to leave," Zara said, her voice calm but filled with a quiet urgency. Jack looked at her, his pulse quickening. "We can't outrun them, not with the pups. They'll never stop coming after us." "We don't need to outrun them," Zara replied with a faint, knowing smile. "We need to outlast them. We will make our stand here." The thought of facing the hunters in a final showdown terrified Jack, but there was no turning back now. He had no choice but to stand by Zara's side. The pups needed him, and more than that, he needed them. They had become part of his life, part of his world. And there was no way he was going to let anyone tear them apart. Zara's glowing eyes shifted to the pups, who were now more active, crawling around and exploring their new world. They were growing fast, their small forms becoming more defined each day. The first pup seemed to have an almost peaceful aura, while the second one emitted a low hum of power whenever it moved. The third, however, remained still, its glowing blue eyes watching everything with an eerie intelligence. It was the one that Zara had said would change everything. And Jack couldn't help but feel that this pup was the key to their survival. Jack quickly went to the storage room, pulling out what little supplies he had left. Weapons, tools, food. He grabbed everything that could help in a fight, his mind spinning as he considered their options. Could they fight back? Could they truly protect the pups from what was coming? Zara's voice cut through his thoughts. "Do not fear, human. You are not alone." Jack turned to see her standing, her posture straight and firm, as though the weariness of the past days had vanished. The bond between them had grown, stronger than ever. It wasn't just a matter of protecting an alien creature anymore. It was about survival dashed together. As Jack finished preparing, he walked back to Zara's side. The pups were all huddled around her now, sensing the tension in the air. They had no idea what was coming, but they could feel the shift in their environment. They were no longer the fragile, delicate creatures of just a few days ago. They were growing stronger, learning, adapting. Jack's heart swelled with emotion as he looked at the little family they had become. In a world full of danger and uncertainty, they had found each other. And now, he would fight to protect them. With everything he had, the sound of the ship grew louder, closer now. Jack glanced at Zara, who gave him a nod. It was time. "Stay close," Jack said to the pups, who looked up at him with innocent eyes. Their tiny bodies trembling with excitement, Zara positioned herself between the pups and the door, her gaze fierce. "Stay behind me, human. We will protect them together." As the first of the hunters stepped through the door, Jack felt his heart racing. The time had come. No longer would they be hunted. Now it was time for them to fight. He wouldn't let the pups' family be taken. The battle was just beginning, but Jack was ready. For the first time in his life, he felt a deep sense of purpose. He wasn't just a man on a remote planet anymore. He was a protector, a father, a fighter. And he would make sure that Zara and her pups had a future no matter the cost.